Hi, I'm Justin Barrett. I'm president of Blueprint 1543. I'm a psychological scientist and former university professor. In this video, I'm introducing a series of videos on the social scientific study of religion. For more than half a century, philosophers such as Alvin Plantinga, Nancy Murphy, theologians and other religious leaders such as Alistair McGrath and Pope Francis, the Dalai Lama, Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, and historians such as Peter Harrison and John Hedley Brooke, many others have considered the relationship between modern science and Christianity, or modern science and other religions more generally. What that relationship has been, what it could be, and what it should be. Almost uniformly, they see promise for either respectful independence or genuine collaboration, or even integration of various religious values and aims with scientific methods of inquiry, including a strong harmony between Christianity and the sciences. What they see little rationale for is some kind of inevitable conflict. Now, of course, there are some exceptions. Some writers have decided that they're in on the conflict side of things, but that's not the general picture of scholars who have dug deep and published works that have frankly been peer-reviewed by other folks who are experts in this particular area. By and large, the vast majority of folks do not see inevitable conflict in this space. And yet, science and religion seems to be a common conflict narrative, that somehow they're against each other, perhaps especially in the United States and the United Kingdom. But is it really such a common narrative? I mean, who believes the conflict narrative after all? Who are these people? What do they have in common? What other narratives, attitudes, and viewpoints are out there in the ether or that real people are holding? What's the picture like in other parts of the world? In other religious traditions, not just Christianity, say, as practiced in the United States? These are the kinds of questions that require a different kind of research than what the theologians, historians, and philosophers have been doing. They require the social scientific study of this area that, for shorthand, we'll call science and religion. Even though if you've been paying attention to my channel, you know I don't like either of those terms very much, and certainly not their conjunction. But for shorthand, we'll call this the social scientific study of science and religion. Over the past 15 years or so, a swell of research in the social scientific study of science and religion has occurred, in large part because of a funding strategy by the Templeton Trust that they have called Science and Religion in Context. Science and Religion in Context was initiated with a desire on the part of Templeton Trust to gain better understanding of how and why people think about science and religion in relation to each other the way that they do. Not so much because this research area was a particular interest of his, but because Sir John Marks Templeton aimed to bring about a particular change in how people think about the relationships between the sciences and religious thought and practice. As the video on the Templeton Trust website introducing this funding area, Science and Religion in Context, explains, quote, "We're exploring Sir John Templeton's view that both religion and science are valuable, mutually enriching sources of insight about the world and ultimate reality." So this funding strategy is not so much just an open exploration of John Templeton's view because it's somehow contestable for his philanthropic efforts. Rather, it's been funded and it's being explored to bring about some kind of change in mindsets. He wants to see less conflict, more harmony, more cooperation, primarily amongst religious people doing scientific work and their receptivity to scientific work, because he really was convicted that the sciences could contribute to theological and spiritual understanding and lead to certain kinds of things that he considered progress. So he had this desire for scientists to see the mutually enriching value of religious thought, to understand religious traditions as places that generate hypotheses worth testing and practices worth studying. He also wanted religious traditions to embrace the tools of the sciences for their value in helping shape theology and religious praxis or practices, to multiply what he called spiritual information. To put the relationship in terms popularized by Templeton laureate Ian Barber, John Templeton rejected both the conflict view, that science and religion are conflicting ways of understanding the world, and the independence view, and that's the view that they fail to conflict only because they deal with completely distinct realities, and so they can sort of move on parallel tracks all the time. This funding area, science and religion in context, then was chiefly motivated for, you might say, methodological reasons. What can we learn about how people form and change their views of the relationship between science and religion so that we can change those views, we then being the funding bodies, change those views to better align with John Templeton, the founder's viewpoint on this. Changing these views about science and religion away from conflict and independence views toward more complementary or integrated views will motivate further research and activities that bring together the resources of the sciences and religious traditions to, in their terminology, accelerate spiritual discovery and rescue religions of all kinds from obsolescence. So, with that as sort of the background, Templeton Religion Trust has funded a number of grants in this science and religion and context area, including 4 pretty large program grants, totaling, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. 3 of these program grants had lots of sub-awards that they gave out. In fact, over 40 sub-grants made under this science and religion and context banner. And so then the question is, now that that research has largely been completed, well, what have we learned? What have we learned from the social scientific study of religion? Where could we improve as scholars working in this space? Where could we, as thoughtful people, perhaps people with our own religious convictions and scientific enthusiasm, learn from what this growing literature reveals? This video series, what I'm doing is mostly reacting to what I see scholars doing and reporting in this space, what people seem to be thinking about science and religion, and maybe how we can think better about these concepts and what the relationships might be. So I'm not just reporting what has been found, like science journalists do, though I'll do a little bit of that, but I'm going to do it with this caution that I want to share up front. This is a complex area, made all the harder to interpret because of the great diversity of ways and places that the social scientists have tried to tackle these questions. And so fair-minded scholars have plenty of room to disagree about what we seem to know and what we don't yet know. So with that caution, please join me for the rest of this video series as I reflect on how people think about the relationship between science and religion. And as always, please leave comments, like and subscribe. Give me suggestions and questions that you'd like to hear me address in this series and in other standalone videos. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now.